Have you ever stopped to wonder, did humanity actually forget something absolutely essential about the nature of God? For thousands of years, as empires rose and fell, humanity was obsessed with one big question above all others. Who or what is God? As a historian looking back at the long arc of civilization, it's wild to see that ancient people didn't just passively wonder about this. They built these massive, awe-inspiring temples reaching for the sky, dedicated their whole lives to spiritual understanding, and firmly believed they held profound truths about the divine. But then, something shifted. We got technologically advanced, our societies became incredibly complex, and yet, this deeply integrated understanding, it just kind of vanished. So in our explainer today, we're diving into essential mystery. As we skyrocketed in science and technology, did we accidentally trigger a massive collective amnesia about the divine? Welcome to the explainer. Today, we're unpacking what we call the forgotten divine. We're going to step way back in time to contrast the deeply integrated wisdom of our ancient ancestors with the highly analytical, hyper-intellectualized world we live in right now. Let's start by looking at an era when life itself was considered entirely sacred. Thousands of years ago, society operated on a completely different wavelength. They lived with this profound, everyday awareness that existence was literally sacred. To them, the stars, the oceans, the towering mountains, and even human consciousness itself, they weren't just random biological accidents, right? They were seen as direct, undeniable evidence of a greater functioning intelligence. Now, think about what we consider a crisis today. Well, to these ancient cultures, the ultimate existential threat wasn't famine or war or disease. It was something they called spiritual blindness. They genuinely believed the absolute greatest danger a society could face was existing without remembering its divine source. Every sunrise, every harvest, literally every breath was seen as part of a divine order. And losing connection with that was terrifying. It was a profound state of forgetting, a state we might actually be stuck in today without even realizing it. So, how exactly did these ancient empires view this divine presence? Let's look at how this higher intelligence was literally woven into their reality. What's absolutely fascinating here is that despite being separated by enormous geographical distances, you see a remarkably similar worldview popping up everywhere. Take the ancient Egyptians, for example. For them, this divine intelligence was Ma'at, the cosmic harmony and physical balance that actually governed the universe. Over in ancient Hebrew traditions, God wasn't just some distant creator hanging out in the clouds. The divine was the actual breath in your lungs, sustaining you moment to moment. Meanwhile, early Indian spiritual traditions described an eternal consciousness that was present literally everywhere. And the Greek philosophers, they talked about the logos, or the nous, this supreme, organizing cosmic mind running behind the scenes of physical reality. Across the board, it's like a giant puzzle where every piece says the same thing. God was intricately, undeniably woven into the very fabric of daily life. But here's the catch. How did they actually connect with this cosmic mind without the vast external data or scientific tools we have today? Well, they relied on what we might call the lost technology of the mind. Instead of looking outward through microscopes or telescopes, ancient people used highly active internal technologies. We're talking about deep meditation, profound prayer, just completely immersing themselves in sweeping silence. They used sacred rituals, fasting, and isolation. And the goal wasn't just to worship some distant figure from afar. No, it was a direct, visceral encounter. They treated inner transformation as the literal tool to connect with the divine. For them, knowing God meant directly experiencing God. And man, when you compare that to our modern era, the contrast is just stark. Think about it. Ancient spirituality put all its chips on internal awakening and direct encounter. But today, our society mostly approaches the divine through external institutions, rigid doctrines, or routine checklists. And if you step outside organized faith entirely, our modern culture is almost exclusively focused on material success and external knowledge. We've basically traded profound internal transformation for a constant feed of external information. Which brings us to the great spiritual amnesia. Let's look at exactly when and how science began to replace the sacred. If you trace the timeline, it's pretty eye-opening. Thousands of years ago, the divine was just a given, woven right into everyday reality. But then, as human civilization progressed, we hit the era of rapid scientific advancement. Technology completely reshaped daily life, and our external knowledge just skyrocketed. But look at where we are in the modern day. The result seems to be this deep, pervasive spiritual amnesia. It's like as our mastery over the physical world exploded outward, our internal, sacred understanding quietly slipped out the back door. And this shift fundamentally altered our very sense of purpose as a species. I mean, ancient civilizations were constantly reminding people that life was a sacred preparation for something eternal, right? That humans were deeply connected to a higher divine design. But modern human purpose? Honestly, it's largely been reduced to basic biological survival, climbing the career ladder, and just endlessly accumulating physical possessions. We essentially traded a sacred existence for a completely material one. So we have to ask the hard question. Has all this progress actually blinded humanity? Let's talk about the true cost of our technological era. It's not like the ancients didn't see this coming. Their scripts were definitely not silent on the issue. They issued these dire, flashing red warnings. When humanity forgets the divine, chaos follows, moral collapse, violence, confusion, disconnection. Becoming totally consumed by selfish material desire wasn't just a character flaw. It was seen as civilization's absolute greatest danger. And honestly, reading those words today, while looking at the fractured state of our modern world, that ancient warning feels incredibly urgent, doesn't it? Because if we take a really objective look at our world right now, what defines it? More information, more speed, more consumption. Modern civilization is hyper-focused on expanding outward at breakneck speed. We've got unlimited data literally in our pockets, instant communication, endless entertainment. We are moving faster and consuming more than humans ever have in the entire history of the world. But in doing so, we've left almost zero attention or quiet time to actually understand the deeper meaning of existence itself. As we sit back and analyze this massive historical shift, we're staring right at the ultimate trade-off of human civilization. Humanity gained unprecedented knowledge of the world, but in the process, we forgot the knowledge of God. We really have to ask ourselves if our endless technological progress, as brilliant as our scientific mastery is, actually triggered this profound invisible loss of meaning. You know, the greatest thing humanity ever lost might not be a vanished city like Atlantis or some ancient artifact, but our very understanding of the divine. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Did we simply outgrow these ancient truths as we mastered the physical mechanics of the universe? Are we just past it? Or is this spiritual amnesia, this forgetting of the integrated, deeply experienced divine connection of our ancestors, the single greatest unacknowledged crisis humanity faces today? It's absolutely something to contemplate. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.